No one does.
Anyway, let's begin with our praise to Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Ki Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. So welcome to the Bhagavad Gita overview sessions on third chapter. We have so far taken 3 sessions on this chapter. Today we'll continue our discussions from verse number 13 onwards. So before we start, I would like to give you the overview summary of what we have understood so far, and then we'll proceed further. I request all of you to keep the Bhagavad Gita as it is copy in front of you, so it will help you to refer in case you want to refer something while I'm discussing. Okay. So today we will go through the chart. It will help us to understand the overview of this chapter in a better way. So all these discussions are happening by the inspiration of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, who has so mercifully given us the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in a nice way that all of us can understand and follow them in our day-to-day lives. So we owe a great sense of gratitude to Prabhupada for his wonderful contribution. This third chapter is known as the Karma Yoga, can be broadly classified into subdivisions like this. The beginning of this chapter is with questions from Arjuna, and Krishna is pointing out the defects in Arjuna's way of understanding things with regard to what to do and what not to do. And Krishna gradually explains the concept of karma yoga in the next section. And we'll also see, when you reach the liberated state, what is the situation in the 4th section, and the modes of nature acting on us also has influence on our various activities we do. That will be discussed in the later sections. And finally, there's a very wonderful section in this chapter about the analysis of lust. Very interesting section, the last section, which we will discuss towards the end of this chapter. So this is the overview of this chapter, beginning with the section of what Arjuna wanted to know, basically. Arjuna was in a dilemma because so many subjects he had heard from Krishna in the previous section. Especially, Krishna had instructed Arjuna that you give up all activities which are not in line with Bhakti Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, and then just do activities which will only bring you to the platform of Bhakti Yoga. So there is an impression which Arjuna is carrying that war is going to be very ghastly, or war is not proper. That was the thinking he is having. So this is the background with which Arjuna is asking question to Lord Krishna, that why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare, Krishna? If you think that intelligence is better than fruity work, basically he want to say that if you think that Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness is better than engaging in any other activity, why are you pushing me to do such a sinful activity? So basically, Arjuna's way of asking this question, or rather background of asking this question, is his confusion with regard to the understanding of subject matter which Krishna has presented. And he's seeing some contradictions in Krishna's presentation. Rather, there was no contradiction. It is just the shortfall or the shortcoming of Arjuna with regard to his understanding. Right? Prabhupada explains that when there's something you're not able to understand, it is not the mistake of the teacher, rather it is the mistake of the student to not have understood the matter clearly. So basically, Arjuna wanted to use this as an excuse to avoid fighting skillfully. Prabhupada explained this. Right? He wanted to use this aspect of Krishna consciousness and avoid fighting. That was the background with which he was talking. But even otherwise, as a very sincere student, he presented the question before his master, Lord Krishna, and so that we, Arjuna is representing all of us, but we can get the advantage of hearing from Krishna for the explanation of what is that we are supposed to be doing. Right? So he placed this question before Lord Krishna, and Prabhupada says this question of Arjuna cleared the path of Krishna consciousness for all the students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the. So this was the question of Arjuna, and Krishna started pointing out the various defects in Arjuna's understanding. So initially, Krishna said, already I've explained to you, Arjuna, that there is the self-realization can be attained in two ways, by Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga. There are two types of paths, and both, of course, will lead you to the realization of who you are, and finally, as spirit soul, you're supposed to serve Krishna. That is possible. But Arjuna's way of asking question was, in one sense, premature, because he wanted to renounce activities without any background, and he wanted to, in fact, not do any activities. But one thing is to renounce activities and take up sannyasa prematurely. That was one aspect. And secondly, he also wanted to avoid fighting. So that, he was thinking, by avoiding fighting, I will be free from reactions. So this Krishna clarifies in verse number 4, telling that neither of them is going to help you, Arjuna. Because taking up sannyasa requires very step-by-step process of gradually purifying yourself, and then renouncing everything. Basically, sannyasa cannot be abruptly done. It has to be done in a very systematic way, because there is a purification required with regard to the aspect of sannyasa. Sannyasa is one of the stages of varnashrama, the last stage of varnashrama. So this cannot be done abruptly. That is what Krishna is recommending Arjuna. And also, just for the sake of renouncing or rather giving up all activities and thinking that I'll be free from reactions, also is not correct. That was Krishna's pointing out of defects of Arjuna. So basically, Krishna wanted to give knowledge to Arjuna that there is a very important aspect of the soul being always active. Right? Every moment, soul is active. Right now, because of the soul being under the influence of illusory energy, it's acting under illusion. Whereas actually the soul is, in reality, it is having spiritual nature. That spiritual nature is covered by modes of nature right now, because of which the spiritual energy is exhibited through the material modes. So if you can engage ourselves in the natural activity of Krishna consciousness, that is going to really bring us to the platform of right platform, proper platform. Otherwise, we'll be entangled. Krishna was trying to again point out the fault of Arjuna, just because you don't want to fight and you want to just pretend to be, renouncing everything. But heart of heart, your mind is dwelling on sense objects. So you're called a pretender, mithyachari, Krishna said. Right? So basically, Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna that don't make a pretense or don't make a show that, I want to just renounce, I want to give up everything, I want to take sannyasa, but your heart is not purified. Your consciousness is not purified. And giving such a renunciation is of no use. So Krishna's recommendation to Arjuna was that in verse number 7, that you please act in a way without attachment, as prescribed in the scriptures. Right? Yastindriyani manasa niyamya bhavate Arjuna. Karmendriya karma yoga. This is the recommendation Krishna gives. In fact, Krishna further reiterates his point by telling that even to maintain your body and soul, you have to work. Right? That is what Krishna mentioned to Arjuna. And he said, that's why Arjuna, please perform your prescribed duties. Prescribed duties means the duty which is just psychologically, biologically in line with your nature, psycho-physical, psycho-biological activities. That's called prescribed duties. So this whole chapter, Karma Yoga, is a description of prescribed duties. As Prabhupada explains, the discharge of one's prescribed duty in Krishna consciousness. You may not be having any liking to do any activity in Krishna consciousness, but nevertheless, prescribed duties are as prescribed in the scriptures, not as imagined or not concocted. That's the idea. So Krishna's advice to Arjuna is that you may not like to do your duty of Kshatriya, but nevertheless you have to do. That is what Krishna is advising Arjuna in this section. And also, Krishna has introduced us a very wonderful concept of yajna through this in this section. He pointed out the defects of Arjuna with regard to not to have any pretensions and just simply have something in heart and something else you're showing off, and not to abruptly renounce things, not to say without any maturity take up sannyasa. All these things Krishna mentioned to Arjuna and recommending that you please work now as per the prescribed duties. And working as per prescribed duties, the Vedic scriptures give us an understanding that you have to work for the satisfaction of Krishna. Right? There's something known as sakama karma and nishkama karma. This subject is discussed throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Sakama karma means you are having some desire with which you want to work, and you perform activities with some fruitive expectations. Work with some work with expectation of fruits, expectation of results, called sakama. Nishkama means with no expectation of results you want to work. It's called nishkama karma, right? So like this, Krishna's advice is basically you do your prescribed duties and come to the level of nishkama karma. Right? That is the 9th verse. Basically, is like you can say a very important verse, which Krishna is trying to explain it further and elaborate on this principle more and more throughout the whole Gita. The 9th verse is a very important verse where Krishna says, you have to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna only. Yagnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandha. If you don't do this, you will be entangled. So for this reason, Arjuna, please work in a way so that you'll be freed from all material attachments and you'll be free from bondage. Prabhupada explains, this is the great art of doing work. Because this is how we're supposed to work in every aspect, either mentally, verbally, or physically. Any activity we do should be only doing it for satisfaction of Krishna. Right now, all these activities, mental, verbal, or physical, we are trying to do it for our own satisfaction, right? Our own or extended satisfaction. So that is actually cause of bondage. Krishna is giving us a wonderful practice which can save us from the reaction of work, right? And gradually elevate us to the highest level of transcendental service to Krishna, by which we can enter into kingdom of God. So as I told you, this particular verse is a very important verse, which will be further, is actually a principle which Krishna is stating, which will be elaborated further. So seeing Arjuna's situation further with regard to his mind being completely absorbed in one type of a mentality of not wanting to perform his prescribed duty and not wanting to understand that the purpose of life, everything. So Krishna went into something basics of why this creation is made and what is the purpose of creation. And in the creation, system of creation, there is the living entities who are created, especially human beings. They all have to perform yajnas. Krishna introduced the concept of yajna, and from verse 10 onwards, Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna from 10 to 16, on which we have already begun discussions, that Krishna actually created the material world, and when the creatures, living entities were born in this world, yajna was also there. What does yajna mean? Yajna means any activity which will satisfy Krishna as prescribed in scriptures. The activities cannot be concocted or manufactured by us. It should be as per the prescription of Guru Sadhu Shastra. So Krishna mentioned very nicely in the verse number 10, 11, 12, which we discussed in the last session, that the whole arrangement of this material world is such that Krishna has created the living entities, and there are empowered entities, living entities known as demigods, devatas, who are controlling different universal affairs. Just like the heat, light, water, air, etc., what we are experiencing, enjoying in this material world, are all controlled by different devatas or demigods. They are all appointed officers of Lord Krishna who are helping Lord Krishna in various affairs of this universal management. So Krishna's advice in Bhagavad Gita is that by performing various yajnas as prescribed in the Shastras, as given in the scriptures, to these various devatas, there will be a general prosperity for everybody. Basically, the yajnas prescribed in the Vedas are all meant for different devatas. Even though it is meant for devatas, every Vedic mantra begins with Om, which means finally these yajnas, ultimate satisfaction of the yajna is Krishna only, Vishnu only, right? Yagnapati. Vishnu is the chief beneficiary of all the yajnas. Basically, when these yajnas are perfectly performed, the different parts of the different parts and parcels, basically the devatas, are also satisfied. Just like when you water the root of a tree, automatically the different branches, different twigs, leaves, every part of the tree is automatically satisfied. So the yajnas are meant for, basically Krishna is trying to explain in verse number 10, 11 and 12 what is known as karma kanda. Karma kanda means there are various rules, regulations, and yajnas, sacrifices, recommendations, which are all given in the Vedic literatures, which has to be performed. I was giving the example of how, as a householder, the Vedic scriptures mention is something known as Panchashuna Mahayagna, which means while you are drinking a glass of water, there's so many bacteria which are killed. Or when you light fire, so many germs get killed. When you're walking, many ants get trampled. Or when you use a pestle and a mortar or a mixie in the modern context, so many bacteria get killed. Like this, many things, knowingly, unknowingly, we are committing sins. So the recommendation is that we have to perform Panchashuna Mahayagna, Rastas. So like this is all part of Karma Kanda. There are many other yajnas recommended from morning till night, many things we have to do. So this is what Krishna is trying to explain in verses 10, 11 and 12, that there are different devatas who are managing different affairs of this material world. And these devatas are in charge of different universal affairs. And if you don't perform yajnas properly as per the directions of the Vedas, and don't get your necessities of life in that way, then actually you are like a thief. Which means the facility arrangement which Krishna has given has to be recognized and honored in a particular way. Not recognizing the facility and trying to take advantage of the facility, and not recognizing or acknowledging the system and the creator of the system, that is actually not proper. That's what Krishna says. He says in verse number 12 that like this, when the devatas are satisfied with performance of yajnas and they also provide all the necessities of life for you, but you don't recognize the arrangement of Krishna in the material world, and you don't recognize the authority of the devatas here, then actually you're simply trying to enjoy the facilities Krishna has given us, and you're like a thief, right? Without acknowledging. So yajna is sort of an acknowledgement or thanking the arrangement that Krishna has made, and trying to recognize the authority of Krishna and gradually elevate yourself in Krishna consciousness. So karma kanda eventually will bring you to the platform of Krishna consciousness, but gradually. So now Krishna switches over from karma kanda to what is known as karma yoga from verse number 13 onwards. Okay. So what is karma yoga? Karma yoga means karma means any activity you do, but you do for yoga. Yoga means connected to Krishna, satisfying Krishna. Right? It is called karma yoga. So Krishna begins verse 13 with an example, which is very, very common for all of us. All of us eat. Right? So how do we eat? Simply we eat, we cook and eat for ourselves? No. Krishna says, Yagna Shishta Shinas Santo. I'm discussing on verse number 13. Yagna Shishta Shinas Santo. Muchante Sarvakil Vishai. Bhunjate Tvagam Papa. Ye Pachanti Atma Karanat. So Krishna is telling that the Santa means the pure devotees or devotees who are practicing bhakti. They are released from all kinds of sins. Muchante sarva kilbishaya. They are liberated from all sins. Kilbishaha means sin. Sarva kilbishaha means all sins. So the devotees, they eat food which is offered to Krishna. Bhoga. They offer the food to Krishna. That is called Yagna Shishta. Right? The prasada, what you get is called Yagna Shishta. In Yagna, whatever you offer, the leftover is called Yagna Shishta. Right? You offer bhoga to Krishna, that becomes prasada. So, Krishna is giving us an example of to have only prasada of Krishna and not directly eating. Directly eating, what will happen? Bhunjate tva agham papa. If you directly eat the food without offering to Krishna, you are going to commit great sin. Agham papa. Right? You have heard of one asura by name Aghasura. Aghasura means very greatly sinful demon. Agham means grievous sin. So if you eat food which is not offered to Krishna, just for your own satisfaction, personal enjoyment, you are eating every morsel of food you're only eating sin. Very clear direction from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Which means, when you don't acknowledge that this food is given by Krishna, this has to be offered to Krishna, that is called Yagna, and we should take prasada, Yagna Shishta, that will relieve you from all sins. So basically, Krishna is gradually is doing the transition from karma kanda process to karma yoga process here, wherein he's telling, do your activities for satisfaction of Krishna, which is stated in verse number 9. Yagnarthat karmanonyatra. Any activity which is not done directly for satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna is going to bind you. So now it is explained with an example here that the Santaha or the great devotees always want to do every activity for satisfaction of Krishna only. So Prabhupada elaborates the aspect of devotion to Krishna as not only eating but any activity. There are 9 types of devotional service. Shravana, Kirtana, Vishnu Smarana, Archana, Vandana, Pada Sevana, Dasya, Atma Nivedana, like this, hearing, chanting, remembering, right? Doing worship of Krishna. So offering food comes as part of the worship of Krishna. Right? So Krishna explains in verse chapter 9 and chapter 18, repeats, Manmana bhavo madbhakto madhya jimam namaskuru. Manmana bhava, always think of me. Madbhakta, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship. What does worship mean? Worship also means offering various articles of worship like dhupa, deepa, and also food, flowers. Okay. So offering food is part of worship. Why? Krishna explains later on in the 9th chapter. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. Tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmana. He says, one who offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, fruit, water, love and devotion is important. Then I'll accept it, I'll eat it. So, offering food to Krishna is part of worship process, archanam, very important process. So, any activity which is satisfying Krishna is called a yajna. So Shravana, Kirtana, Archana, Vandana, Dasa, all these activities are all these are yajna only. So Prabhupada says, by doing any of these 9 activities, 2 of them, 3 of them, 5 of them, all of them, even one of them, this will keep you aloof from all contamination of sinful association in the material world. Just see. So Prabhupada says, you can't do anything, at least chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Over. You are free. That moment you are free from all contamination of the material world. So it's very important that we do our activities only for satisfaction of Krishna. That's what this verse basically means. It is, in one sense, it's giving a sense that food offered to Krishna only has to be taken. In a broader sense, it is also giving the understanding that yes, without doing activity for satisfaction of Krishna, it is only going to contaminate you. It's going to further entangle you, right? So, if you even from this verse perspective, if you see, when you purchase food items from market, ready food items, Prabhupada says, one who prepares food for self or sense gratification, either you purchase ready-made food or you prepare food for yourself and not for Krishna, then Krishna says you're only thieves, and you're also eater of all kinds of sins. Prabhupada is telling, how can a person be happy if he's both a thief and sinful? Right? You're a thief means you're always afraid when police will come and catch me, when there will be a legal implication. And secondly, you're always committing sins. How will you be happy? Right? Therefore, Prabhupada says, for people to be happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtana Yajna. Offering food to Krishna also is Sankirtana Yajna. It's part of Sankirtana Yajna, in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there will be no peace and happiness in this world. Right? Very wonderful verse. So, there's a transition from karma kanda to karma yoga from verse 13 onwards, where Krishna is explaining the process of the karma yoga, how you can perform every activity for satisfaction of Krishna. Prabhupada says, even to become happy in all respects in the material world, you have to perform yajna. And the easiest process of yajna in Kali Yuga is Sankirtana yajna. Okay, offering food, all that is difficult. At least start chanting Hare Krishna. That is going to give you real happiness and peace. Now next, from verse 14 onwards, 14 to 16, Krishna is going to explain what is known as Yagna Chakra. Right? The Yagna Chakra means what is this whole cycle of Yagna? What is going on in the material world? Basically, see, understanding Gita, Bhagavad Gita, gives us a world perspective, world view of what is going on around us. Because we are part of the world. Just like you are in a particular locality, particular house, in a locality. If you're not even aware what is going on in your locality, you are just locked up in your house, then you will be like, totally ignorant of what is going on around you. And so, whereas you are part of the world, you should know what are things, how things are going on, who has arranged this whole arrangement, who has made this whole arrangement. And because you will be also influenced by this whole arrangement. When there is some problem in your locality, you're also affected. Say, for example, there is some, Section 144 imposed by police in your locality. You cannot go out of your house. You cannot say, I didn't know Section 144 is there. Right? Police will immediately make you go inside your house. So like that, some awareness about what is going on in your locality is important for you to function in normal way. That's what Krishna wants to tell us. So like this here, Krishna is telling this whole system of universal management.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The whole system of universal management, there is wonderful arrangement which Krishna has made. So we need to understand that arrangement to appreciate Krishna's way of functioning here. And what is our role? What I'm supposed to be doing? Otherwise, you will be ignorant. As Krishna said in the previous verse, 13th verse, that if you don't understand that everything has to be offered to me, then you're only committing grievous sin. And then you'll be entangled. You'll be unhappy in your way of life. So what is that Yagna Chakra? We'll try to understand. Krishna says, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha Yajna dhavati parjanyaha yajnaha karma samudbhavaha. Krishna is telling, all of us are depending on what is known as food grains. Anna. Anna means rice. Anna means any food. Right? Any food. Living entities are subsisting on or depending on food. So, Annad bhavanti bhutani. Bhutani means living entities, having material bodies. Jiva bhuta. So, the living entities are subsisting on food grains. And where these grains are coming? Can they be manufactured in factories? In the modern, new generation children, they think everything is manufactured in factories. Rice comes from factory. Dal comes from factory, everything comes from factory. Right? That's what they have been taught. They don't know that all these grains and rice and dal and vegetables, they have to be coming from rain. When there's sufficient rain on the ground, earth produces different vegetables and grains. Krishna is telling the same thing. See, these are all our common sense observations. Krishna is not speaking something which we cannot understand. Eating, we are doing every day. And we are seeing this phenomena. All living entities are eating. And where this food comes from? Krishna says this food comes from rains. Parjanyad anna sambhavaha. These good rains, good harvesting. No rain, then production is less, because of which the cost increases. So, and where from these rains are coming? Next point Krishna explains. Yajna dhavati parjanyaha. Parjanya means rain. These rains are produced by performance of yajna. Yajna means the different types of sacrifices which the Vedic scriptures are prescribing. That is what we are supposed to be performing them. See, even for getting proper rains, you're supposed to do yajna. Now, next point Krishna explains, where from this, how to know which yajna to be performed. So, Krishna explains this yajna karma samudbhava. Yajna is born of prescribed duties. You get a clear understanding of this when you go to the next verse. But right now, understand this much, that living entities are living on food grains or food, for their subsistence. Food is produced by rains. Rains happen only when you perform yajna. And yajna is, what yajna means? Activities meant to satisfy Krishna. How do you know what is that activity meant to satisfy Krishna? They are born of different prescribed duties. Means every varna ashrama has different duties prescribed. Those have to be performed by them. Only then that is known as performance of yajna. Just like in the human form of life, in the present context, the prescribed duty is what? Kalotad Hari Kirtanat, performing Sankirtana Yajna. If you do the Sankirtana Yajna, then what happens? You are performing your prescribed duty of human life. Otherwise, you're not doing a prescribed duty. So when you do this, then you have performed yajna. And when you have performed yajna like this, then there is rain. There is rain, there is grains. When grains are there, all living entities are getting their necessities of life. Now there is one question here. We see that hardly, very less percentage of people are performing yajna nowadays. Yajna means, Sankirtana yajna. Maybe less than 1% of the total population of the world. How is it that even then rains are coming? Right? How is it that grains are also coming? So Prabhupada says, even 1% population of the world can perform yajna, Sankirtana yajna, that is sufficient to make the whole world happy. Okay. And if 10% follows, the world will become Vaikuntha. Just imagine. So that is the point. So even a small negligible percentage of doing something. So the performance of chanting by you and all of us is actually bringing rains. Okay. And there are countries where there is no performance of Sankirtana. So there is extreme weathers. Yes, today I was reading some news. There's an African country, Sudan. There's not even water to drink. There's a nice pastime of Prabhupada. When Prabhupada went to Hyderabad in 1973 or 74, there was continuously for almost 3 years no sufficient rains. Almost like, it was anavrishti. Anavrishti means scarcity of rains. So Prabhupada went there with his foreign disciples, Western disciples, and performed wonderful Sankirtana for almost 3-4 days in a Pandal program. After a third day or fourth day, there was enough rains falling. And Prabhupada openly said, it's because we did Sankirtana Yajna here. Right? So Prabhupada explains in the end of this purport, very nicely Prabhupada explains, the Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform sacrifices will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. Sankirtana Yajna is the prescribed Yajna for this age. And therefore, it should be performed to save us at least from scarcity of food supply. You see, it's all very basic things which people don't understand, don't realize. So Prabhupada says, just chant Hare Krishna, you'll be happy. Why? Because chanting Hare Krishna is equivalent to performance of Sankirtana Yajna. Sankirtana Yajna, if you do, rains will be there. Rains are there, grains will be there. Your life is happy. Just see, that's what it is. Okay, so very simple aspect, what Krishna is explaining here. All living entities are subsisting on food grains. It's called Anna. Anna is produced from Parjanya, it's rains. Rains are produced by performance of Yajna. Why rains are produced from performance of Yajna? Because rain is again controlled by a Devata called Indra. When you perform Sankirtana Yajna, Indra is very happy. He will, start showering rains timely. Right? That's what it is. So, and this yajnas, what to do, what not to do, who is telling us? It's all prescribed duties with regard to the human form, what we should do, what we should not do is all mentioned. And where it is mentioned, in verse 15 it is explained, karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. Prescribed duties or regulated activities are all mentioned in the Vedas. Karma brahmodbhava. See, it continues. Karma samudbhava in verse 14 was the last word. Karma brahmodbhava means this karma samudbhava, the prescribed duties. Where it is mentioned in Brahma. Brahman means Vedas. And what is Vedas? Vedas are nothing but directly emanating or directly the words of Krishna. Brahmakshara samudbhavam. Vedas are manifestation of Krishna's words. Okay. So basically, Krishna is telling that the prescribed duties, what people have to perform, that is called yajna. And these prescribed duties are mentioned in Vedas. And Vedas are nothing but Krishna's own words. Prabhupada explains, Vedas are actually directly manifestation of the breathing of Supreme Lord. Right? Prabhupada quotes from Vedas. Asya mahato bhutasya nashvasitam etad yad rig veda yajur veda sama veda atharva veda. Krishna is all powerful. It is mentioned that Krishna's any sense can perform action of any other sense. Just like through our nose we can only breathe. But Krishna, by his breathing, he can also produce Vedas. Prabhupada explains this. That is called omnipotency of Krishna, which means Krishna can speak by breathing. Krishna can impregnate by his glance. Krishna can eat by his seeing. You have kept a plate of bhoga in front of Krishna. In our case, we have to actually take our hand and put in the mouth. Krishna, just by seeing, he can eat. That is Krishna's all-powerful nature, omnipotency. Brahma explains this. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti banti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. So, basically, Prabhupada is trying to explain that Krishna has produced these Vedas, or Krishna has created these Vedas. Why? Because Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swatha Krishna Jnana. We are all Maya Mugdha, completely absorbed in Maya's influence. So much so that we don't know who are we, who is Krishna. So Jivera Kripaya Kaile Krishna Veda Purana. So Krishna has given this Veda, Puranas, Upanishads, all these things for our Uddhara, for our deliverance, to show mercy on us. Krishna has given all these things. So what are Vedas then? Prabhupada says Vedas are codes of working directions, which means what to do, what not to do, how to do, all these directions are given. Just like when you purchase one gadget, a mobile, it comes to the manual. How to operate this machine, how to operate this gadget. Likewise, our body is a machine, what is created in the material world, especially the human form of life. When you get how to conduct yourself, how to work in a specific manner, all these directions are given in the Vedas. So Vedas are the codes of working directions. So Krishna created Vedas. Vedas has directions for us how to work. They are called prescribed duties. And prescribed duties means based on our psycho-biological nature, psychophysical nature. There are different people have different natures. Sattva guna, Rajo guna, Tamo guna, mix of Rajo guna, Tamo guna, all these things. Based on those various conditions, the different prescribed duties, just like a Brahmana predominantly having mode of goodness, he has one type of duties to be performed. Right? A Kshatriya has prescribed duties to be performed. It is called prescribed duty. Every Varna ashram has prescribed duties. Brahmachari, student, has a prescribed duty. The Bhagavata, 7th canto, explains elaborately on this. So every ashrama, every varna, what are the different duties, prescribed duties, right? In Kali Yuga, what has happened? Everything is topsy-turvy. Nobody knows which varna he belongs, which ashrama he belongs. All doing everything, and everything is all. Prabhupada says hodgepodge, right? Hodgepodge means there's no clarity what to do, what not to do. So this is the problem right now. So Prabhupada recommends that in the Kali Yuga especially, what has happened is that because we are not very clear about what is my specific prescribed duty, the best aspect is that you, even if you cannot follow Vedic injunctions, you can simply adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness as given by Prabhupada. That will replace the performance of all Vedic yajnas or karmas. Why? Because this human form of life is actually a chance for all of us, all human beings, to attain liberation from this material world. Right? And to attain liberation, we have to follow the prescribed duties given by the Vedas in the form of yajnas. Right? So, and this type of activities, what to do, what not to do, is very simplified and made very practical for all of us by Prabhupada through his Krishna consciousness movement. You get up early morning for Mangalarati, attend Mangalarati at 4:30, then chant your rounds, Hare Krishna mantra. Prabhupada says at least 16 rounds you chant. Then you hear Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata, then perform your other duties of Krishna consciousness, like whatever household duties for people who are in the taking care of house or some business. But all those activities, again, do it in the mood of offering the results to Krishna. That is the whole purpose of Karma Yoga. In fact, Karma Yoga description goes on up to 9th chapter. Yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad juhoshi, dadrasiyat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat purusham adarpanam. That is also again Karma Yoga in a more elevated stage. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give in charity, give it as an offering to me, Krishna says. This is again Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga in a very elementary stage, Karma Yoga in an advanced stage. Okay, so basically, right now we are not aware of what to do, what not to do. We are simply doing anything and everything what society has told us to do, or what we have heard from our parents or our grandparents, or what we see in media, television, movie. We think, oh, that is correct, it is correct, this is correct. We go on doing different things. But we have to align ourselves with what Prabhupada has told us, because whatever Prabhupada has told us, that is actually the principles of Krishna consciousness, which if you adopt properly and follow them properly, that will replace the performance of all the Vedic yajnas or Vedic karmas. Very wonderful revelation. Okay, so when you do this, what happens? Then actually you are performing your prescribed duties in the human form of life. Just following Krishna conscious principles in your life. Simple. Prabhupada says, you chant Hare Krishna every day, read Bhagavad Gita every day, then take prasadam every day and worship Krishna with your family. That's all. These 4 things Prabhupada says in the 13th chapter. This is going to take care of your performance of yajna in Kali Yuga. If you do this, what happens? Yajna, you are performing yajna, and by performance of yajna, rains will happen, which means you will be happy and prosperous. Your family will be happy and prosperous. Right? And Prabhupada gives practical example. In Krishna consciousness movement, we have so many branches, so many devotees. All of us, Krishna is providing us necessities of life. That is what Krishna assurance in Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana pariyupasate. Tesham nityaviyuktanam yogakshema vahami. One who is devoted to Krishna, Krishna is taking care of their yogakshema. Yogakshema means what? whatever necessities you need, I will provide, and that is what you lack, I will provide, and what you have, I will preserve. Just see, that's what we are doing in our activities also. Most of the people, what they're doing, oh, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that facility, I want to run behind that, I want to get that. And whatever I have already, I have this much bank balance, I have this much property, I have to safeguard it. Krishna is telling, you think of me, you do worship of me, you just do devotion to me, I will do that activity for you. Just see. So this is the simple formula Krishna is giving Bhagavad Gita. Performance of yajnas. So I'll just show you one nice, wonderful schematic diagram which will help us to understand this concept more clearly. This is so we understood that all embodied living beings, they are subsisting on food grains, and food grains are produced by rains, parjanyaha, anna, parjanyaha, and parjanya depends on performance of sacrifice, yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties or karma samudbhava. And these prescribed duties are mentioned where? They are mentioned in the Vedas. And these Vedas are not simply creation of some human beings. No, these Vedas are coming from Supreme Lord directly. This is called cycle of sacrifice. Right? So, the whole purpose of human life is to please Supreme Lord. That's what yajna means. And the best process to please Supreme Lord is pure devotional service, undeviated devotional service. And the easiest process is what? Sankirtana yajna. And the best mantra is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like this, Krishna gives a wonderful revelation of what is this yajna chakra. Now, in verse number 16, Krishna explains what happens if you don't do this yajna. Because mostly 99.9% people are not doing it now. So what happens to them? Krishna explains. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayur indriyaramo mogham partasa jivati. See, Krishna is using the word chakra. Cycle. One who does not follow this prescribed Vedic system of sacrifice, this whole cycle, right, of sacrifice, somebody is not following, then aghayu. Aghayu means grievously sinful. Already Krishna has used this word in verse 13 also. Aghayur indriya rama. Indriya arama means I am very satisfied in my sense gratification. I am getting, everything is okay, nice. My family is settled, business is settled, I have good bank balance, everything fine. Right? That's what people think. So this type of life, Indriya Arama, they are leading a life of full of sins. Krishna says, they are mogham partasa jivati. Actually, such a life of sin, which is actually, wherein you are only taking sense gratification, sense satisfaction, this is of no use. It's only useless. Mogham means useless. It is of no value. Good, happy for how long? As long as you're okay, as long as you're alive. After that, Prabhupada says, you'll become cat, dog, hog. That is okay. Oh, I was a nice, officer in a big company. Next life, I became a dog. Oh, how it is. Right? Prabhupada says, a big prime minister of a country. Next life, he became a dog in Switzerland. Prabhupada says, astrologer said. So, one life, prime minister, everybody is honoring him. Prime minister, very powerful person. Next life, dog. People are chasing behind you with a stone. What is this life? So this type of life without any purpose, without any goal, is of no use. That's what Krishna is telling us here. The people are thinking to earn money, become big people. It's called Mammonist philosophy. Mammon means only goal is to earn money. Money, sweeter than honey. Right? This is a word Prabhupada uses in Bhagavata. Very sweet than honey. If money is there, anything is okay for you. That's what people think. Everybody is working hard for money. And money means I get money, I have power to enjoy senses. This is what Krishna is directly condemning here. Work very hard and earn money, enjoy senses. Krishna says, you are useless. You don't have any meaning in your life. Right? So, without performing this cycle of yajna, which is actually necessary for all of us. If you simply live a life like this, Prabhupada says you're leading a very risky life. And risky life means you'll be condemned to take lower and lower life forms repeatedly. This human form of life means you have come to a very advanced stage. It's like you have gone from your schooling, graduation, you have come to you've almost finished your post-graduation. You have studied hard so much. And this human form of life in that way is meant for what? It's meant for understanding that I am spirit soul, I am part and parcel of Krishna, I have to serve Krishna. It's called self-realization. Right? Self-realization is not, is the purpose of this human form of life. But in this life, you're working hard like cats and dogs and hogs. Now, this is what Lord Rishabhadev says. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma tadindriya priti aprunoti. So, you don't know what is the purpose of human life. You're working hard like cats and dogs and hogs. Because all these animals are working very hard for what? 4 necessities of life. Where is eating? Where is sleeping? Where is mating? And where is how I can defend myself? Whole life is not only 4 things. If human form of life also is just busy in these 4 things and not for any other purpose, then you are no better than animal. So, the yajna system, which is actually prescribed in this section of Bhagavad Gita, is designed in a way that we get our necessities of life in a very systematic manner. We also enjoy the life in this material world in a very authorized way, right? In a very sanctioned way, and gradually elevate your consciousness, your whole existence to spiritual existence without becoming entangled in the reactions of sense gratification. Right? There is something called sanctioned sense gratification, something called not sanctioned sense gratification. Right? That's what Krishna explains in in verse number 66, I think. Yes, 64. Krishna explained in 2nd chapter, 64th verse. Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayan indriyescharan atma vasher vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Krishna explained there are regulated principles of freedom. Right? Regulated principles of freedom means there are some rules, regulations, which if you follow, you will become free from this material world. Sometimes people think regulation means restriction. Oh, no meat eating, so much restriction, no coffee, tea, no much restriction. But if you follow, you'll become free from this material world. That's the point. That is called regulated principles of freedom. People don't realize this. They think too much restriction. No, ISKCON, if you go, not even drink coffee, tea. Right? Forget about watching TV and all. You'll go mad. So, yes, you're all mad in one sense, outside world, doing all nonsense. We want to correct you by teaching you that this is the right way. Otherwise, you'll remain mad. As Lord Rishabhadev says, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma. You are becoming mad by performing vikarma. Vikarma means actions which are not to be done. You are doing activities only for sense gratification. So, this is the point which Krishna is explaining here. The Yagna Chakra, which Krishna has made in the material world, arrangement what Krishna has made, we have to follow. Only then it is going to help us. Just like it's telling, if you want to go on the road, you have to follow traffic rules. No, I'll not follow traffic rules. I'll not even take license. And what will happen? You are going to put yourself in danger and everybody else also in danger on the road. Right? That's what is happening now. Everybody thinks, I am free. I can do anything. I am freedom of thought, freedom of action, freedom of anything. Everything, freedom. Finally, you are fully entangled so much that you will be given a body of animal that you can't even move an inch. So all this so-called freedom is only entanglement. That's why Bhagavad Gita explains. Second chapter is so wonderful. Krishna is explaining everything. Regulated principles of freedom. Videya Atma, Atma Vashya Videya Atma. Right? When you do this, Prasadam Adhigacchati, Krishna bestows mercy. Right? I will eat only prasadam. I will not eat anything else. Immediately mercy of Krishna has come. Every day I will chant Hare Krishna. Immediately Krishna mercy is there. Every Friday I will attend this session without fail. Mercy of Krishna is there. So these are things which are small steps we have to take. Okay, after attending session, let me understand what I have learned today. Very important, very good. Mercy of Krishna is flowing. So mercy of Krishna is unlimited. You have to receive the mercy by yourself expressing your desire to again involve and engage in Krishna's service. That's the point. Okay, so this is what is the Yagna Chakra which we discussed today. I'll conclude here. Anybody has anything to ask, discuss? We can take a few questions, comments.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Hare Krishna.
Please.
Yeah, the demigods who are the authorized supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Lord.
Okay.
They supply all our needs. At the same time, we know that they are highly exalted, highly advanced, and they are devotees of the Lord. So what is their plan or their goal to go back to Godhead, the demigods?
Okay. So your question is, demigods are exalted personalities. They're all devotees of Vishnu. Vishnu Bhakta Bhaved Daiva. What is their plan to go back to Godhead? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Even among devatas, there are two categories. One is called Sakama devatas. Okay, Sakama devatas means they are having material desires. They are devotees. Okay. And there are devotees, pure devotee devatas also, like Lord Shiva, Brahma. So two categories are there. So again, see, devatas are exalted personalities because of their piety. They have been elevated to that position. Krishna has selected one of the living entities who is pious than the rest of the human beings to be elevated to that position. So in that position, they are supposed to further, advance in Krishna consciousness and move forward. The rules are same for everybody. Okay. The Bhagavatam, in fact, explains the facility and the various other opportunities to become Krishna conscious is more favorable in the human form than in Devata life. Because in Devata life, the level of enjoyment is many times higher than compared to life on earth. Because the level of enjoyment and the sense gratification is so much. That's what Krishna explained in second chapter. No, Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam daya aparata chetasam. When a person is too much inflicted by bhoga and aishwarya, opulence and sense enjoyment, then what happens? Then his mind becomes bewildered, and because of which he cannot fix his mind on Krishna. Samadhau na vidhiyate, Krishna says. So the opportunity for becoming Krishna conscious in heavenly planets is much that way, not that favorable compared to on earth. That's why even devatas aspire to come down to earth to practice Krishna consciousness if they really are serious. And in fact, there are examples in in Bhagavatam. There is one pastime of Nriga. Nriga was a lizard in Dwaraka. Okay, this Nriga was actually a devata in previous life. Sorry, Nriga was not a devata. He was actually a king. He was a very exalted king. So the pastime is this, that he had performed so many pious activities while he was a king, doing a lot of charity and a lot of wonderful pious activities, that hardly he had performed any wrong things, adharma. But once what happened when he had given many brahmanas charity of cows, a lot of cows he had given, each brahmana had given thousands of cows charity. One cow from one brahmana had somehow had escaped and come to some other brahmana after giving charity. So brahmana from whom the one cow was missing, he went and complained to the king. See, you have given charity to me, but you have again given it to him, same charity. So this is actually offense. So the king was very apologetic and he was telling, no, sorry, I didn't know how it has happened. But in exchange, I'll give you 1 lakh cows more. Please take. But this brahmana was, very, very strong. He's saying, no, I cannot take. You have done a big mistake, big blunder. When the time for his death came, the king's death came. Then he went to Yamaloka. There, Yamaraj asked him, see, you have so much of piety, punya, that you can become a devata. And one mistake you have done of, this Brahma Sampat, Brahmana's property, is being exchanged like this. So you will have to suffer. You have to take birth of a lizard. Okay. So this king thought, okay, let me suffer one life as a lizard. And after that, I will enjoy nicely. Right. So, but even though as a king, he was having one level of devotion to Krishna and he was thinking of Krishna. So because when he got that body of a lizard, he was thinking of Krishna only. So he was, was born as a lizard in Dwaraka that way. So when the children in Dwaraka were all playing, Krishna's sons, they happened to, they were playing a ball and that ball went into a well and they saw a big lizard there. And they called Krishna. Krishna, just by touch of his hands, that lizard became a nice devata. Then after offering prayers, everything, this devata, he became a devata actually. He would have asked for pure devotional service, but he told just offered obeisance and went back to devata loka. So Prabhupada says, unless you are fully purified, you cannot attain pure devotional service. I was just recently reading this. Just I was recollecting when you asked this question. So devatas are sakama bhaktas, mostly. Only very few are akama bhaktas. So even becoming devata doesn't mean that, yes, they are all Vishnu bhakta bhavet, they're all Vishnu devotees. Just like we see many rich people are all devotees of Vishnu, Narayana, Krishna. But that doesn't mean they're pure devotees. So pure devotion is something which is a very special qualification. So whatever position you may be, in fact, Prabhupada quotes one nice statement from one of the acharyas. He says, Kaivalyam narakayate tidashapur akashu pushpayate. He says, for a pure devotee, one who has got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, even Kaivalya means merging in the impersonal Brahman Jyoti. That is also considered to be hellish. A pure devotee doesn't want to even think of merging myself with impersonal Brahman. And he thinks, second point, all these heavenly planets where devatas are there, They're all actually only phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria means they're all there today, and again with the cycle of creation and then maintenance and destruction, it'll all again be destroyed. Ridashapur Akasha Pushpayate. Akasha Pushpayate means they're like the flower in the sky. There's no flower in the sky, but actually it's an imagination. So all the creation in the material world, even though it may be heavens, it all be destroyed one day. For time being, you see, oh, very nice, very good. But they're all only temporary creations. Right? Then he says, Vidhi Mahendradishcha Kitayate. A devotee who has got mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understands Vidhi Mahendra means Vidhi means Brahma. Mahendra is Indra. Their position also is like Kita. Kita means insect. So even the greatest elevated devatas or great devatas whom we call, their position is nothing for a devotee. Right? So pure devotee's position is very exalted. In fact, decide about spiritual master, pure devotee spiritual master, that he is the sum total of all devatas. Sarva Devo Mayo. It is mentioned in Bhagavad. So like this, just becoming a devata doesn't mean that you are pure devotee. As I told you, devatas are mostly sakama devotees, full of material desires, kama bhaktas. So there, unless they adopt the plan of pure devotion as given by great devotees, they take shelter of pure devotees, they cannot become pure devotees. That is the understanding which Bhagavatam gives us. So, devata is only a position, post. All of us were devatas one time, one lifetime. We don't know when. Right? But becoming a devata is not what we should aspire for. Right? Becoming a devata is only just like becoming minister. Okay, now that way it is like becoming a devata means becoming a minister. So it's having no relevance with regard to your devotion being advanced or devotion being enhanced. Devotion is completely ahituki apratihata. It is not dependent on any of these external features, external factors. Becoming wealthy, becoming highly positioned, or becoming that, these are all not matters of concern at all for your devotional activity. Okay, maybe if you're devata also, you're a pure devotee, it is good. That's why you see many pastimes we see in Puranas and in many other Vedic literatures. When devatas have this jealousy, enmity, right? Indra is always afraid my position should not be taken away by anybody. It's like modern day politicians think, oh, I won the elections, I should become this minister, or I want to become prime minister. Right? In Karnataka, there elections going on. I heard many politicians are changing parties, shifting their loyalties because they're not getting tickets. It's not like that. Okay, you're loyal to Krishna only. We don't want any position. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam, jagadisha kamaye. No other aspiration other than service to Krishna. So devatas, that way, yes, they are elevated than you because they are empowered and they have greater piety, but they are not pure. For that matter, we will not disrespect them, we will have due respect for them. Because they are all managing, just like when a police officer comes to your house, you have to respect because he belongs to police department. Okay, that person is respected because he belongs to a particular department. That way. But they are not pure devotees. That much I can tell you. Yes, except for few, like Shiva and Brahma. Yeah. Any other question?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
You explained it so well.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Bhumika ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, yes.
Prabhuji, मेरा question है from chapter 3, shloka 6. Prabhuji, इसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि Hare Krishna, you can hear me, Prabhuji?
Which chapter? Yes.
This chapter 3, shloka 6.
Chapter 3, shloka 6.
Prabhuji, yes,
Yeah,
the one who restrains the senses and organs of actions, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself, and he's called a pretender.
Correct.
So, Prabhuji, in 9.30, Krishna is saying that if he is my devotee and he doing
Abominable action.
abominable,
Action.
yes, abominable actions, he should be considered a saintly person. So, Prabhuji, both these things contradict. I want to understand this.
Okay, so we have to understand. Prabhupada says the word Sudurochara should be understood properly. Okay, so Krishna is talking about two people here. Mithyachari means a person who is not properly situated in devotion, just making a show. Sudurachari means he is properly situated in devotion, but due to influence of conditioning, Prabhupada explains about two aspects, conditional and constitutional in that verse. Okay, so conditional means our life right now is actually a baggage of many karmic influences from many lifetimes. Okay, we have a lot of anartha in our heart. Anartha means the subtle tendencies to do something which is gratifying my senses. Okay, so these anartha nivritti is happening gradually with regard to a devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness. But the influence of Maya is so strong sometimes that there may be an accidental fall down, not intentional fall down. Intentional fall down is something different. Intentionally means I want to enjoy. This accidental, Prabhupada explains very nicely. This accidental fall down. Accidentally, a devotee falls down, there's no problem. But with regard to Mithyachari, he knows he's not elevated. But even though he makes a show of devotion, that is intentional. Verse number 31 of 9th chapter is accidental fall down. Accidental fall down, Krishna excuses. Because his intention is not to, he becomes, situation makes him such that the conditional influence, anarthas, come with a force. Because right now, you may be thinking and you may be feeling and you may be acting in a way, everything is fine, devotion is going very nice. But there will be a force of karma with the influence of Kala in our life at one point of time, wherein the very action of devotion, of chanting also becomes difficult for you. At that time, how will you practice devotion? It's a test for you. So the point is, there's a lot of difference in both this. There's no contradiction. There's a complete reconciliation here. Basically, verse 6 is on the aspect of intentionally a person is making a show. That's why Prabhupada begins the purport by telling the pretender or the show of show bottle performance, right? Whereas the other one is he's sincerely trying, but influence of Maya. Prabhupada explained, when you started performing devotion, it's like declaring a war against Maya, and Maya is very strong. Maya always wants to see how serious you are in Krishna consciousness. Right? The devotee may not be sufficiently equipped to fight against Maya. He may succumb to some situation. But even though he succumbs to such situation, Krishna immediately recovers him, or he enlightens from within in the association of devotees, and he moves forward. Such accidental fall downs are not to be considered serious. That's what Krishna wants to tell us. Whereas with regard to the Mithyachari, they're intentionally making a show of devotion and want to continue as I'm a great devotee, I'm a big guru, I'm a pandit, right? Like that. They make a show of speaking big philosophy. That is wrong. Okay, there's a difference in both the verses. This Mithyachari, that is Sudurachari. Sudurachari is basically the conditional conditional aspects within us as anarthas, because of our weakness in devotion. Sincerely, you want to follow, but somehow you fall down. But nevertheless, you again get up and move forward. Krishna explains. See, next verse, Krishna says, very soon that devotee will become situated in devotion service. Next verse, you see 32. What does Krishna say? Kshipram bhavati dharmatma kashvat chantim nigacchati. That is the next verse. 31st verse. Right? Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. Correct? Even though accidentally he falls down, but quickly he recovers. Okay? There's a continuity in the understanding.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Fine. So we'll close now. We'll continue discussion next session. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.